Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Being Muslim in the Modern University. So before we start, I'm going to call upon Dr. Tareq Moqbel to open the day with a recitation of Surah Ra'd, verse 3 and 4. And Majida, Begum, to come into the translation, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وهو الذي مد الأرض وجعل فيها رواسي وأنهارا ومن كل الثمرات جعل فيها زوجين اثنين يغشي الليل النهار إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون وفي الأرض قطع متجاورات وجنات من أعناب وزرع ونخيل صنوان وغير صنوان تسقى بماء واحد ونفضل بعضها على بعض في الأكل إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون صدق الله العظيم.
Say, it is he who spread out the earth, placed firm mountains and rivers on it, and made two of every kind of fruit. He draws the veil of night over the day. There truly are signs in this for people who reflect. There are in the land neighboring plots, gardens of vineyards, cornfields, palm trees in clusters, or otherwise all watered with the same water. Yet we make some of them taste better than others. There truly are signs in this for people who reason.
Jazakallah for that beautiful recitation. Okay, Alhamdulillah, I'd like to officially welcome all of you to the conference, and a special welcome to all those who have traveled here to be here today. And a special thanks to Imam Dawood for traveling from the Yusuf and Prof. Center from Turkey. So, alhamdulillah, the conference interest has been overwhelming. Our goal was to get 40 students in a room, maybe for a few hours in a day. And what happened is that we have over 100 people signed up for the conference. So alhamdulillah. So to introduce myself, my name is Taskeen. I'm from South Africa. These are my co-organizers, Nabila Idris from Bangladesh and Isa, British, originally of Pakistani origin. Yeah. We all either were or are from the Center of Development Studies, doing PhDs or MPhils. And so throughout the day, if you need anything, please do not hesitate to contact us. And we also ask that you forgive us for any of the shortcomings in this conference. We've really worked on a tight budget and tight time constraints in addition to our work and studies to put together this day. So inshallah, it will be of some benefit to all of us. So before we kick off, I just want to have some logistical housekeeping announcements. So we'll have one tea and coffee break before lunch, which will be in the Chetwynd room outside here, and 2 in the afternoon, also in this Chetwynd room right here where you've registered. So today, in the conference time, we'll need to pray Zohar, Asr and Maghrib. So we've allocated a prayer room for this. This room is called the Manvi room, but it's a bit complicated to get to. So it's 2 floors above, and basically you'll have to go out the front door, so through the red room, and there'll be signage along the way, and there'll be stewards to help you. But basically you go back out how you came in, up a flight of stairs, up another flight of stairs, and then there'll be a sign. So apologies for the long walk there. Yes, parents are also welcome to take their kids to the Manvi room if the kids or the parents feel a bit cooped up and want a play area. Since the room might be a bit difficult for those, basically because there's like 2 flights of stairs you have to walk up, we'll also set up a prayer room in the Chetwin room for those who can't go upstairs. But we really encourage people to go upstairs because it's just more spacious, quiet, carpeted, and comfortable. And we have short breaks, so we really urge you to please, as soon as the break is announced, to go straight to the prayer room, inshallah. So lunch will be served at the Graduate Union, which will be a 6-minute walk from here. I'll give instructions of how to get there, but there are maps stuck around the room in terms of direction. So we'll have students to guide you. But if there are Cambridge students in the room, please help us in escorting our out-of-towner guests to the Graduate Union. So this day is going to be extremely jam-packed, and we don't want to miss a moment of the time we could be speaking to our speakers. So I would really ask everyone to return to the room a few minutes before the start of each session, so we can start promptly. And if you need to leave the room, there's a back door, the black door, which you can exit out through so we don't distract the speakers. And there are 2 bathrooms in the back, as well as bathrooms that you would have passed on your way through here. So when using the bathrooms, I'm sure people might need to make wudu. Please try and keep it neat because these bathrooms are still being used by the rest of the college. And lastly, a conference isn't a conference without a fire exit announcement. So the fire exit is out the back door this way in the event of an emergency. So moving on to the theme of today. I thought it would be useful for me to share a little bit of a story about my personal journey to Cambridge and the struggles that I faced and the opportunities that I came across to explain how the idea of this conference arose. So I'm sure that my story will resonate with many of the students here today. So I grew up in South Africa and I worked for a few years as an engineer before I came to Cambridge to pursue my studies. And for those of you who don't know South Africa, it's a small but vibrant Muslim community. And although we are a minority, I've never really had to question the foundations of my faith, as my faith was pretty much part of my schooling and part of my life in general. Additionally, when I came from a discipline such as engineering, I had a very empirical and positivist understanding of the world. I actually only learned the word positivist when I came to Cambridge and only learned that I had a positivist worldview when I came here. When I got to Cambridge, I faced 2 major levels of challenges. So the first level was socially and culturally. Pretty much what you'd normally experience as an international student, but possibly emphasized by being a Muslim woman. So many of the ways of socializing here are going to pub crawls and bar nights. And I remember in the first 2 weeks of my MPhil, we had an official class field trip over the weekend, and there were pre-arranged dinners at various pubs along the way that I had no option to get out of. So it was quite a difficult changeover for me. But alhamdulillah, fortunately, I very quickly found the ISOC and I molded a space where I could comfortably be a Muslim in Cambridge. And I found social groups that socialized in the way that I was comfortable with and enjoyed. And for this, I really have to commend the ISOC for the tremendous efforts that they made for Freshers Fortnight to make the university a soft landing for Muslim students. Where's the president of ISOC?
Standing guard.
Oh, thank you. So, hats off to Samuel. So, whilst acclimatizing to Cambridge, both the weather and the culture has been quite difficult, this challenge was still somewhat expected in comparison to the second challenge that completely blindsided me. And this challenge was the flood of ideologies and isms that came my way, from Marxism to feminism, secularism to postmodernism. As a measly engineer, I was overwhelmed with the theories and approaches on offer. Additionally, as someone who is quite involved in activism, Some of these ideologies on the menu were admittedly quite appealing and helping me understand the injustices of the world. So everything in Cambridge is subject to question and debate, whether in academic or social spaces. And on many occasions, I was asked to give rational explanations of my beliefs and practices, of which I really struggle to. I felt I was completely unprepared for this, and the questions rattled the foundations of my faith, as I came from an environment where I never really had to question the tenets of my deen. So it's this second challenge that the conference aims to address. And in discussion with many other students, I found that I was actually not alone in this experience. Being in an environment like Cambridge makes it truly incumbent on us to have a firm grounding in the foundations of Islam, as one's faith will be challenged at all angles. Especially with secularism as the dominant Western worldview and the plethora of ideologies floating around. So first we need to have a firm grounding in our Islamic worldview and approach. First we need to have a firm grounding in what the Islamic worldview and approach is, and in what ways, if at all, these other ideologies and approaches can fit into our Islamic foundations. So the purpose of this conference is thus to just ignite a flame to encourage us all to delve further into strengthening our Islamic knowledge base. We aim to do this through interacting with experts throughout the day who have been thinking and writing about these issues for decades. And while I raise this as a challenge, I also want to highlight that Cambridge is probably the best place to have this challenge. We are surrounded by and have access to amazing scholars that are making Cambridge a hub for Islamic education. I've attended countless talks now by Sheikh Abdul Hakim, the Juma Khutbahs by Sidi Hassan, and my all-time favorite lecture by Sidi Ahmed Kina on Mizan a few years ago. They've all been crucial to my development and the development of many students who have come here for a university degree but have left enriched with so much more. Thus, one of the purposes of today is to introduce all of you, especially the undergraduates, to the strong Islamic scholarship and expertise we have here locally. And it should not be seen as a once-off conference, but rather as a springboard for discussions and events that delve deeper into the themes that will be touched upon today. So, one of the major difficulties we faced in organizing this conference, and which we thought was crucial to mention, is that despite the predominantly female organizing committee, we really struggled to get female scholars for the topics for our sessions. And at one point, we in fact designed a panel that was fully female, but we had over 60 clients from female scholars. And the reasons that they gave was often because they were overcommitted or stretched too thin. And this just really emphasizes the immense pressure that has fallen onto the hands of a few female Islamic scholars. So with this in mind, we really hope that today inspires women in the audience to pursue these paths to knowledge. And finally, today's audience is extremely diverse. We have renowned professors, but we have people from renowned professors to undergraduates. And so it's worth mentioning that today's sessions are designed and targeted to speak at the freshers and undergraduates. So for those who are a bit more seasoned in the topics, we ask you to keep this in mind, that the conversation needs to be accessible to novices of the fields. And if you keep this in mind in your question and answers as well, so that the conference can be beneficial to everybody. And on that note, we have planned the sessions in such a way that there's ample time for question and answers, in order to encourage everyone, novice to expert, to critically engage and to even challenge the speakers if need be. The speakers are broad-ranging in terms of their stances, and this will provide ample room for fruitful discussion throughout the day. We'd also like to note that the views of the speakers do not necessarily represent the views of the organizers. The purpose of today is to ask difficult questions that you may have in the hopes that maybe together we can begin to find some answers. And no doubt you will leave the room with more questions than answers, but actually that's our intention. and that's to encourage everyone to become seekers of ilm. So, Jazakallah, and I hope you have an enriching day, inshallah. So, yeah, without further ado, okay, shall we? Okay, we'll wait a few minutes. I think there's some people who are still coming, and then we can get this next speakers ready, inshallah. So, give us 5 minutes. Thank you.